So we'll be joined by Morara Kebaso, who is on his way. He is stuck somewhere on Ombaso Road in traffic. And when he comes here, we'll be having this conversation of what we are seeing happening in the country and going on. So wait for him to come so to give him the proverb.
That we shall do.
Yeah?
We shall wait for him, and then we'll give him the proverb when he comes.
Yeah. In the meantime, this is the story in the Standard today. This one, it says that Ruto locks out his friends. It's on page 8. Can I read it a bit for you?
Please.
It says President William Ruto is quietly reshaping his administration. Okay. He's consolidating power as he distances himself from old allies that defined his leadership more than 3 months ago. In a striking departure from the image of an open and easy leader, Ruto is enforcing strict access protocols and reshuffling long-serving staff. President's critics reveal that the move signals his growing authority, but has raised concerns about Kenya's democratic space. While responding to an ex-update by a citizen, Wanyoike Waikwa, who stated that the next 5 years of a country's life will be wasted through lies, killings, corruption, tribalism, mediocre experts, state capture, manufactured political drama, and sheer paralysis.
Hey!
Kwa bwana.
Man, the guy has gone to town on his adjectives, eh?
Hey. David D, as you know, he's the chairman of the president's economic advisors. And you know, on Sundays, David D usually is on a roll. He responded to Waikwa Wanyoike and told him, 10 more like it. Green and bear it to demonstrate that Ruto is in control. Told him, 10. Watch kusema 5, 10. When an ex-user, Joe Okoh, challenged Lydiah about unnecessary power games, Lydiah said, it's for your mental well-being. You need to get over the delusion that Ruto is a passing cloud. The first passing cloud, that's President Daniel Arap Moi, stayed 24 years. Get in line. This is the reality. Ruto's first years in office were characterized by grand promises of reform, pledges to widen democratic space, fight corruption, and foster transparency as outlined in his campaign manifesto. Today, his administration is running a parallel police unit. Hooded police officers in civilian clothes, curbing freedoms through covert operations, a stark contrast to the campaign rhetoric that brought him to power. Last Thursday, for example, in a significant change in Ruto's effort to centralize control at State House, where access is now tightly regulated, Felix Koskei, the head of public service and chief of staff, had granted State House Comptroller Kato Ole Metito exclusive authority to control all visits to the presidential residence. I'd have thought that's a job of the State House Comptroller anyway. A memo titled State House Access Management Measures Felix sent to Metito stated that from high-ranking politicians to foreign dignitaries and private citizens, everyone must now seek clearance from Metito before setting foot in the house on the hill. The memo further orders Metito to compile a report of the particulars, identity, and every visit. Despite the provisions that State House is a protected area, several issues have been observed compromising its security, efficiency, and proper resource utilization. The memo warned State House officials, marking a new phase in Ruto's presidency. Ruto, no longer the globe-trotting leader delivering lengthy political speeches, has opted for a more calculated approach. Koskei's memo explicitly blocks even cabinet secretaries, diplomats, and politicians from meeting Ruto without the prior approval and knowledge of the State House Comptroller, who is supposed to clear them before they meet the president. In another move aimed at tightening internal controls, an audit of staff quarters within State House is underway, with all non-employees being asked to vacate.
I don't understand.
There were non-employees who were living in State House.
Yes, but what I don't understand is all those permission seeking. Kwani, how are people visiting and seeing the president before?
Previously?
Yes.
Kato was just seeing people on the corridors.
Yeah, but these people are supposed to happen. These very things that they're telling us, they're tightening. I thought these things, that protocols existed. It's not a question of creating new ones. I mean, surely you can't wake up and decide, today I want to go and visit the president. Or is that what was happening? People were waking up to go and visit the president. I've listened very keenly.
It sounds like previously people were just waking up and not want a boss.
I'd love to find any, but they went to play boss.
A boss. They go there and they sit, they say, boss ako na mkutano. Wacha tukae hapa tumngoja tutamwona. They sit there.
I mean,
they go in there.
Everything that they're saying, they're doing.
Mkutano jaisha. Boss amekaa sana. Wacha tutangoja tu.
or wacha tufungue kidogo tuone and you
yes wanaingia kidogo boss and then they step out.
No, I don't. I honestly don't understand what they're talking about, because
now Koskia is saying, those things have become too much. Okay, anybody who is entering State House, whether it's to see the president or to see any other member of staff, must get clearance.
But I thought everybody got clearance before you see the president. Name is forwarded. You get to the gate. They call.
Yep.
And when they've called, they've said yes, they're expecting you, but just wait a moment.
Yeah.
And then you're given directions.
Yeah.
Now you go here, drive this way. But that is the process.
Yeah.
So how are people entering State House?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, again.
You get it, eh? You get it?
I get it.
Yep.
I get it.
There are people who, it's them and boss.
So, boss ameniambia nikuje.
Yeah. Kuna kitu nataka kuambia boss.
No, anyway, ukitaka pigia nani simu kuambia boss na yes. Hey. But if it is being presented by the standard as something that is happening, and we are being also told anecdotally how it is he's distancing himself, creating new. You know, that reminds me of 1982 and the aftermath of it. Prior to that, President Moi had been presented as a very amiable, very easygoing fellow. And then 82 happened.
Yeah.
Everything changed. Everything changed. Very many things tightened. Very many people who are known to be close associates, who are in certain positions, ceased to have those positions. People who, a lot changed. And thereafter is when we started hearing of purges. You hear there's this person who was in this position, he has done this, and people are unhappy with him. There's somebody who is a traitor, there's somebody who's trying to overthrow the government. That's when we started hearing all these things. And they continued. And remember, after this period is when we went through some of the darkest times of our nation. When people would just be arrested willy-nilly and disappear. Kabisa, yani gone, story imeisha.
Yeah.
And that's when many, many people who had been in the struggle, as we called it then, left the country. They realized, this one, you can die. Because people were dying. This is when we had courts and rulings at night. And there's a guy who at that particular time was the DPP, a guy called Chunga. Ay, my friend, that's when there was more Kenya. After that, then there was this. Any reason to clamp down on people was provided. And believe me, the clampdown was profound. Yes. And a lot changed in that time. Many, many, many people were jailed. Yes. Many. Many were let go of, but people were jailed.
What do you say? This story is saying that the president is consolidating his powers. He is tightening control. If you think about it from the story of what's happening in State House, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Now, the problem with that narrative is that they're implying the president didn't have control. And now he's tightening it. Yes. That is what I fear. But also there's something else that I must mention. Both the president and his deputy give us a word that would have us believe that they are God-fearing people. If indeed they are what they say they are, or what is gleamed from the things they say, then they will understand that power and authority is actually given by the Almighty. And when that power is given, it can be taken away. The dispensation to rule is given. And when it's taken away, it doesn't matter what you do, it will be gone. So, what are they saying? Because the dispensation is actually given to you for the benefit of people. Now, are we benefiting from this particular government? I leave that as an open-ended question. Because clearly there are people who benefit. But are the vast majority of citizens in this country benefiting from this particular rulership? If I were to simply pause and listen to the cries and listen to all the pain that people are feeling, the word benefit doesn't fit into that particular scenario.
So is the missing link? Because it's not like those in leadership, from the president to his advisors to his cabinet to those in parliament in top leadership, are not really hearing what the people are saying. Friday was a clear example, for instance, across the country, without any kind of nudging. This one you can't say at so and so sponsored people.
No.
If you looked at the people that you are seeing, the caliber of people that you are seeing, from the youthful people to the elderly people across the country, people standing up in Baringo and saying, you know what, these guys, this thing of telling us about the impeachment of the president, of the deputy president, okay, sawa, okay, but what about issue A, issue B, issue 3, what about these issues? And across the country, that's what you saw. You saw it in Garissa. You saw it in
Nyeri, where people
Nyeri.
boycotted and decided to demonstrate.
Yeah.
But they were responding to that particular. That's how they were participating. Eric, you know the interesting thing about everything that we're seeing brings on the question we asked last week: do they know what they're setting in motion, and do they know what the consequences of what they've set in motion will be? Because everything that we are seeing, every county in this country has had what you call a taste for national public participation. Do you think they are going to engage reverse gears when it comes to public participation again? Do you think they are going to they're going to desire to play second fiddle to the wishes of the elected leaders, other than them saying no? This was national and people participated, and interestingly, they came out in numbers.
Yes. There were many people.
Oh, there were very many people.
There were many. You know, normally we say, people don't come out for public participation, especially in budget conversations. Or people don't do this and the other. Look
did we
at
see
the
that?
turnout. And it was something. Well, number one, it was well advertised. So you have to give it to the office of the clerk of the National Assembly for this one.
Did an excellent job.
They advertised it very well. It was all over in the papers. It was in the news that there is going to be a public participation exercise on Friday in these centers across the country. Okay?
And they repeated
and
it. It wasn't once.
This was going to happen. And then they even printed the forms and said, this is the conversation that's going to happen. And this is the form. And we'll expect you to fill out this form and go this and the other, and so on and so forth. This was it. It was clear. So people knew. So first of all, Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly, tick. Now we expect that for all the other bills that go for public participation,
This is what we expect.
we shall do something similar.
Yes.
Okay?
They've set it in motion.
Oh, yes. And then the courts went and said, you know what? See, it's about deputy president. And the election for deputy president is the same as the election for president. And it happens in 290 constituencies.
Yes.
So now, see, then you go back to the 290 constituencies. And see, the people speak in 290 constituencies.
They do.
That's why Saturday now, they were forced to go again, 290 constituencies, to meet that requirement.
But Eric, the thing that I find most ominous, if I were the president,
Yeah.
is that we are now being shown an example of how you can impeach a president. Because it is not a dissimilar process.
It's a similar. It's a
And
similar
people have had a taste for it. They've said, so even this is how it's done. Okay, we've got it. Thank you very much.
Kabisa.
Tumeshika.
Our guest has arrived. Morara Kebaso, a lawyer and a civic educator, is here. Morara, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Are you well?
Yes, I'm better.
What unasema, why is Morara late? Can he get serious?
I'm sorry I'm late. The traffic was bad from Outer Ring Road all the way to Mombasa Road. It would not have been my wish to be late. It's not in my habit to be late, and I'm sorry.
We accept it.
Thank
You
you.
have a stiff neck, Morara.
I have an injury on the neck, but it's getting better.
How did you acquire this injury?
I went for public participation or a semblance of public participation.
Yes.
Hii ni ile ulipewa kiti. Zikakuja zikiwa mingi.
The expectation that we have when we go for public participation is that every person's voice counts and that nobody is disallowed from coming to public participation. But it seems I was unwelcome to the ODM organized event, and that plans had been made much earlier that I'll be attacked, because by the time I'm being attacked, or that signs of being attacked are showing up, I was actually on my chair seated, raising my hand to speak. It's the public that demanded that I speak, but it was not the wish of the MC, TJ Kajwang, that I speak. So it's now that I'm, going back into memory to see where I actually got it wrong. And I think there were enough red flags that I should have seen that I did not see. And next time, we fall, we rise, we learn. Because right from, I had announced that I'll go for public participation on my Twitter, on my TikTok, on everywhere. And I'd said my position, that my position is that we impeach both the president and the deputy president. And having made this position known, there are people who are uncomfortable with that position. So by the time I got to Bomas at the entrance, I was blocked by the police from going in. But members of the public, gathered around, and there was a huge crowd, and I was allowed finally to go in. When I went in, the GSU prevented the members of the crowd, and I went to Bomas to the door. I was prevented from entering the door. I went to another door, I was still prevented to go through the other door. I went to the third door, I was still prevented. So when I came back to the first door, and I found a high-ranking officer, and I told her, I'd like to go in. I think she's called Kimani or someone. So she told me I can only go in with one other person. So I think that's where my security was compromised. I don't know whether it was intention on the part of the police to compromise it, but I was only allowed to go in with one person. And other people joined me behind. I sat down. Then I listened to other people give their views. Then when it got to when I want to make my view, I raised my hand. When I raised my hand, the public pointed at me, the whole of Bomas, patia Morara microphone. But TJ Kajwang refused. He instead pointed at me and said, huyu kijana huyu hata haribu mkutano. So I stood up and said, no, sijakuja kuharibu mkutano, nipe microphone, nitoe maoni. And suddenly some people, all right, goons to be particular, came from behind the dais, and they've been identified. Most of them are goons that that work for the Honorable TJ Kajwang. Others work for Honorable Beatrice Alachi, and some of them work for George Aladwa. So they came, and when they came, they didn't come to there was no situation they were coming to calm down. It was not chaos and they are coming to intervene. They came to cause the chaos. They came, started moving tables, picked chairs and started throwing at me. I kept calm and sat down even when chairs were being thrown, but when it got serious, I tried to escape. But the exit towards which I was escaping, I found the door closed. So I was cornered. My bodyguard was injured. He could not defend me anymore. So then I was hit by more than 30 metallic chairs. Some members of the public tried to help me by, putting chairs on me so that every other chair that comes just lands on the other chairs. By the grace of God, some people who were on top held my hand and pulled me up from where I was trapped. And an officer who was brave enough to come in, pick me up, and they took me outside. And outside I was, evacuated from the place. I went to Nairobi Hospital for treatment. But I left the hospital. I went to another hospital when it became public that I was actually at that hospital, because at this time I didn't know what I'm dealing with, and I didn't know how deep the security situation or risk is. So I've been treated. I'm okay. I had head injuries in the back of my head, and I had neck injuries, and one of my legs is also injured.
But they're all tissue injuries. No broken bone.
God is good, and He's still seated on the throne. I'm happy that I'm alive, that I don't have any permanent injury, or I'm not paralyzed. I'm not on a wheelchair. Actually, I'm back in circulation. So unaniona.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back in circulation.
Karibu, City. Give Morara the day's proverb.
Yes, our Proverbs
interpretation
for this week, and the coming weeks ahead, we are going to be looking at proverbs from countries that form what we call the Maghreb region, okay, of North Africa. And our proverbs for this week come from the Kingdom of Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We were puzzled by the proverb ourselves. If you were told a dog has run off with your ear, would you run after the dog or first search for your ear?
If you are told a dog has run off with your ear, okay.
Would you run after the dog or search for your ear?
The first thing you should do is you touch to find out whether your ear is still there.
Confirm.
Before you confirm before you run after the dog, because what you're told and what you're told versus what is the reality is usually different. Don't listen to what you're told before you confirm it. So before someone tells you that your ear has left your body, confirm whether it's still there. Touch your head, confirm whether your ear is still there. If it is not there, then now you go after the culprit, which you've been told is a dog. And it actually may not even be the dog. It may be the one who is telling you that the dog has run away with it. It's true. The one who is telling you that
maybe
that the dog is the one that has left with your ear may just be the one that has the ear. Right?
That's true. Yeah. So there's a conversation that's happening, and it's been happening over the weekend, and we're joined by Morara Kebaso, who's a lawyer and who is a civic educator, who we know him. He's been going around the country looking at those projects that started and stalled and asking questions around them. Ahead of this publicized event on Friday, which was the public participation for the removal by impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, people knew that this is going to happen. People turned up in the various 47 centers across the country. It appears that there was sort of a uniform message of some were saying, yes, Rigathi must go. Others are saying, if Rigathi must go, why don't they both go? You're saying that's the message that you heard as well, Morara.
Yes, I'm actually one of the pioneers of that message. Because that message actually, before it even went out to the public, it began quite a while ago. Me and my team were seated together and we were asking ourselves, this Gachagua impeachment, it is diverting the Kenyans' attention from the main issues. It's diverting Kenyans' attention from SHIF. It's diverting from university funding models, diverting from issues of corruption and many other issues. And we asked ourselves, what do we do? We realized first we cannot avoid the conversation. Much as we didn't think of it as important, we realized we can't avoid it because it is an emotional issue. It's an issue of public importance, and it's an issue that is going to be the one that will carry the headlines on newspapers and on TV. So we decided then we have to join the conversation. But when we join the conversation, what is going to be our position as young people who would like to see change in our country? And we realize that, one, we need to detribalize. We need to completely detribalize the issue of accountability. Because until when we began our agitation for Impeach Both, there was this feeling that the deputy president was being pursued or being attacked as a Kikuyu and as a person from Mount Kenya. It became a Mount Kenya issue that, you see, this is an attack against Kikuyus. And the deputy president was beginning to gain a lot of sympathy from the Mount Kenya region, from people who feel like we supported President William Ruto, we voted to the last man, and here he is attacking our guy. Then we said, okay, how do we clear the noise? Because there's too much noise, there's too much smoke. And when there's too much smog and smoke, people cannot see through the real issues. We said, let us impeach both of them. So that when we say impeach both, there are people who will now start seeing this for what it is. They realize that this is neither a Kikuyu issue or a Kalenjin issue. This is an issue of accountability. Because when you say impeach both, essentially what you're saying is both of them are corrupt. And both of them are failed Kenyans. Gachagua may be corrupt, may be tribal by words, but the Honorable William Ruto, our president, is tribal by actions, beginning with how he does his state appointments and division of even resources. So that is how we began the Impeach Both. And now it has become bigger than me, bigger than everybody else. It is being spoken all over the country, including in the regions where these leaders come from. You could hear sentiments from Kericho, Bomet, Nandi, Uasin Gishu. People all over are saying, well, if they have to go, let them go, both of them. In any case, they were elected together. They should go together. That has always been my position, and it will continue to be my position. Not everybody agrees with that position. Some feel that Honorable Gachagua should go alone. Even in my own family, where I come from, this is a very divisive issue. Majority of Kenyans are for impeach both, but there are a few Kenyans who feel one should be impeached first.
Why?
Even in my own family. Yeah, one of my family members, Wakili Morara Kebaso, is actually a lawyer for the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, and his position is that do not impeach Rigathi Gachagua. But you see, a lawyer is just doing his job. But my position, and which is the position of most of the Kenyans, is that we impeach both of them.
How do you know it's the position of most of the Kenyans?
You just do a rough analysis. This is not informed by a poll that I have done, but rather by just observation. You know, the media has been doing random interviews where they give the microphone to random people, and the random people say what they feel. And if you've been keenly watching through those interviews, as I have been watching, then you realize that the message has been impeach both of them.
But they don't downplay your method of data collection. Observation is a primary source of data collection.
It begins there.
Yes, in fact, there are observational studies. There are scientific studies for that matter.
Yes.
As for what you refer to as random, that is also a perfect way of gathering information, which means someone can say, you didn't select, you didn't predetermine, you randomly selected. Now, if you randomly select, and that is the response that you say you have garnered, there is credence to it. It is not something that you can ignore.
Yes.
Yes.
But I think the members of parliament had a different opinion. The members of parliament had a predetermined opinion when they were going for public participation. And I believe our members of parliament have lost the true understanding of what public participation is. The members of parliament in Kenya wameacha kuwa wajumbe. Because mjumbe comes from the word ujumbe. And the work of mjumbe ni kutoa ujumbe ambayo imetoka kwa wananchi kupeleka kwa bunge ya ujumbe ambayo imeletwa na wajumbe. But now our members of parliament are bringing ujumbe to the people. All right, they've reversed the role. They are the ones informing the public rather than the public informing them. They forgot that they were elected to represent the public, and that the public is the one that they are representing in parliament.
You do know that when you represent the public, there's the element of accountability that comes along with it. And if you look at those whom we refer to as elected leaders, they are loath to any form of accountability, completely loath to it. They abrogated that particular function a long time ago. They replaced it with impunity, meaning, as you see with great clarity, they will decide what they want to do and they expect you, the electorate, to follow. That is how our elected leaders have fashioned themselves over time. And the only time when they were shaken out of this particular mental condition that they have is during the Gen Zs, when the Gen Zs invaded parliament. That's when they actually got shaken. Now, in my mind, they seem to think that it is over. I don't think they understand that it has actually just begun. This thing is far from over.
You see, this is a city together with Latiff. This is no longer a Gen Z issue, as you've correctly observed. The Gen Z may have begun it, but the public, millennials, Generation X's, and all other people have said these children are right. Whatever they are saying is true. And it has been picked up by the rest of the nation. So if there is ever going to be an Occupy Parliament Season 2, it will not just be Gen Zs. It will be Kenyans. And it will be dangerous. This week, I'm beginning a campaign. And the campaign is for reconstitution of IEBC, because we want to recall members of parliament because they no longer represent the voice of the people. And it's going to be serious, this IEBC campaign, reconstitution, because we are stuck. We are stuck with an abusive relationship, an emotionally abusive relationship with our members of parliament who don't care. Sometimes they even apologize. Yeah, the member of parliament for Manyata even apologized for voting yes. But do they learn? They don't. Why? Because they don't care. This is not part of their interest. Their interest is that the president has allowed them to register enough companies to do business with the government. Everybody is on a self-enrichment drive. If they are going to question the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua on how he acquired all this wealth, I don't defend him. In fact, personally, I think impeachment of the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is good riddance. It's good riddance for everyone. Because some people in the mountain were beginning to say Honorable Rigathi Gachagua for president. And you know the mountain is rich with votes. And those votes can actually be used to create a very strong presidential candidate. And if that presidential candidate is the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, then it is jumping right from the frying pan into the fire. It is my personal belief that the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is a worse leader than even Honorable William Ruto in terms of what he stands for, what he believes in, his history of corruption and everything else. So I think he should be impeached, all right? The only problem is that the people impeaching him also deserve to be impeached. We have members of parliament who have acquired enormous, amazing amount of wealth that is so crazy you cannot even understand how they made it. They are accusing him of acquiring 5.2 billion. Why are we not asking the Honorable Didmas Baraza what is the cost of a helicopter? What are his known sources of income? Is he an athlete? Is he a musician? Does he produce art? Where did he afford to buy a helicopter? Does he have a cement manufacturing company? What industry does he run? Why are we not asking the Honorable, Kimani Ichung'wah, how he managed to buy a Mercedes G-Wagon, which costs 14 million? All right? He may afford it, but at least he should explain it, isn't it? So, recently I was at Endarasha for the service for these children that died in fire. The Honorable Ndindi Nyoro landed with a red helicopter. Yeah, should be able to be accountable to the public and say, is the helicopter his or he hired it? And if he hired it, how many times this month has he hired a helicopter and for how many hours? And how did he afford to pay 250,000 per hour for all those hours vis-a-vis his salary? Okay, these members of parliament, they themselves, they've acquired wealth in ways, everything they're accusing the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua of doing, they have done it themselves. But because it's a political process, they may push with it and finish with it. Now we need to find a way to also impeach the impeacher. Yeah, we need to find a way to impeach the impeacher.
I actually find the deputy president a fairly honest man. That is my honest opinion. His sin is he says things which politically are clear one should not say. He says what people think, what people do, he says it. Now, some may say it is naive, some may say he shouldn't say it so, but there are very few things I can say the deputy president has lied about. Very few. Lying, outright lying, there are very, very few. In fact, when I say few, it means there may be some I haven't caught of, but I find the deputy president perhaps a little too honest for his own good. Because which politician, which leader does not look after the interest of the people? People here being close friends and those who come from his neck of the woods. Who doesn't do that?
His vote block.
Yes, who doesn't? This being Kenyan doesn't mean that you don't look after people who are close to you. Now, so when someone declares it in the manner that he declares it, which people find unpalatable, he is speaking a simple truth that each and every politician in this country, past, present, and the future, practice.
In fact, that's how they are known, the politicians.
Yes. How else are people known?
The reason I think he should be impeached is because when you are a deputy, just deputize. Please, just deputize the president. You may be a leader in your own right, but you're a deputy president. Can you kindly deputize the president? Personally, I think if we ever get another chance to do a referendum to amend the constitution, I think the deputy president should be appointed by the president. And this is good for the stability of the nation. You see, right now, it may look okay because we have a dishonest president. Therefore, it may look okay when the deputy president is actually saying whatever he's saying. But remember, there is a law about the National Secrets and Act, which actually prevents him from revealing information that shall come to his knowledge, yes, by virtue of his office. Secondly, when you are a deputy to someone and you contradict them in any organization, even if it's, forget government, even if it is in the company Standard Media Group, and you have a deputy that is, contradicting your position, the problem is that it risks the stability and progress of the company. And the deputy could be right, but these are things that you only say in confidence. If you failed to earn the confidence of the president, my prescription would be, don't take your outbursts to the public. Do not show your disregard or disappointment with the president in open public, or vilify state officers like the director of the director of intelligence, or a judge, Esther Maina. Don't do that. Just do this. Be dissatisfied with the government, honorably resign, become a politician, then now speak about your issues freely. But for as long as you are in a system, a command structure that is a presidency, where this is the executive, our boss is the president, I'm the deputy president, we have cabinet ministers, then you are consistently, without fail, contradicting the position of the president and undermining his authority. I don't like Honorable William Ruto myself, but I think there should be respect for the office of the president, even for us who will come as presidents, Morara, so that we retain Morara, that respect.
Where does contradiction equal disrespect?
Because you have a role, and that role is to deputize. Let me give a good example. I have a wife at home. If I give a position to my children and my wife disagrees with me right in front of the children, then what is that?
Make it a debate. Tell the children, what do you think? This is what your mother says, this is what I think. Let's make this a family discussion. What do you think? There's a reason why I'm giving you this. Yes, make it a family discussion.
Open it up.
Yes, don't take an offense. Your children will learn that they have an accommodating father and they have parents who have differing views, and they allow us to actually express ours.
Because that is the truth.
Yes.
That is the nature. It cannot be that what the head thinks is what the deputy will also think.
But the other thing is that this debate that City is talking about should not be a debate in public. All right? We should not. The presidency should not argue in public. They should come up with solutions in public. By the time they show up in the public, it should be to give a solution after the debate. So this debate is not the kind of debate where you go to Mombasa to State House, then you speak something against the president in Nairobi. If you actually want to have that debate in the boardroom of the president, debate it fully. If the president insists on his way of doing things, please let every member of the team, this is team playing, and this is a team leader. let everybody fall behind the decision of the president.
That
So
won't
that if
happen.
the decision is wrong, mnaanguka nayo mkiwa wote.
Morara, you know why that won't happen? This same president did exactly what his deputy is doing when he was a deputy. In fact, copy in color, paste. In color still. Okay?
Okay, City Dutum wrongs make a right.
No. There's a point I'm making here, and I'm not actually disagreeing with you. I'm actually giving you a different perspective to this particular matter. If you have a leadership and you perform your duties in a particular way, you are setting in motion a trend. Now, one may not see it, but that's what you are doing. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the first vice president of this particular country, disagreed with the president. It was not in public. It became public when the president went to Kisumu to open what we call the Russian hospital, the New Nyanza General Hospital. The spat, it was open. There was a give and take. But before then, they just disagreed. The man left and he said, look, this is not quite what we agreed on. Disagreed, decided to form his own party, went into the opposition. Okay? Now, we walk a very, very dangerous tightrope when you have a situation where it is wrong to disagree with those in leadership. Because if you take the thread that the president cannot be disagreed with, any tin pot individual who has authority will take the cue that they cannot be disagreed with.
Yeah, that's encouraging dictatorship.
Yes.
The reason I don't agree with Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is because he's trying to take my job. Everybody has their job. Let them do their job. So the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua should not take my job.
Which is?
My job, together with other Kenyans, is that we've presumed the office of the opposition. We are the opposition. So when he becomes the opposition within government, what is he doing? His job is to give us information. You see, if indeed the deputy president is very honest and means well for Kenya, how much has he told us about Adani? Nothing at all. How much has he told us about Apiero and the 104 billion and the Ministry of Health to create a health system? Because he is within the system. He's the second in command. If anybody should know, he should know more than any other person except the president himself. Okay? So I continue to say that the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is not as honest as we think. He is selectively honest on things that matter to him and that matter to his tribal politics. If indeed he is honest to the nation, let him tell us about things that matter. For example, how they came up with SHIF, what is the main intention behind SHIF, how are they implementing it. Let him tell us about Adani. Let him tell us what is wrong with the university funding model. Let him tell us about corruption in government, okay? If he has decided to be the opposition within government and they have told him how corrupt he is, why is he not also telling us how corrupt they are? Yet he knows this information. It is because he's selectively honest and completely dishonest. He should do his job as deputy president and leave opposition work to us.
He is the Kenyan politician. You've just described it. Let's see when you become a national politician, whether that will be the same case. Morara Kebaso is our guest. We've been having a conversation about international politics and what they started, Kufa Dereva, Kufa Bakanga, what it means.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.